עידית, אני מתחיל שיעור עכשיו.
Hi, Janice.
Wow.
Hi,
Look at
hi
this.
everybody.
We've got guest visitors.
Guest visitors, yes.
Guest visitors.
I'm only joining the bridge game. Isn't this the right?
No, it isn't.
The right website?
I was going to ask you, Janice, your granddaughter, is she going somewhere next year? Nice.
No, you mean what? Which one?
The one at Birmingham. Yeah, same as
No,
mine.
she's supposed to be working in Paris and
That's right.
Argentina. Well, who knows?
She's got
Oh,
jobs in both
it's on hold.
communities
Okay.
there, but
Yeah.
we're not sure.
Who knows?
Thank you for asking. How's all yours getting on? All right.
Yeah, fine. She's there now at Birmingham. She's back there for some reason.
Yeah, Lisa, Amy's gone back.
Yeah. She's actually going to Oregon.
What, for studying?
Yeah. So I hope there's some Jewish people around. I've checked on the university. It doesn't seem to be very many. But
Amy's going to Argentina. Where is it?
Buenos Aires.
Buenos Aires.
Lots of good people.
But there's a
That's
big
wonderful,
community
isn't it?
there. Big community.
yeah, that's a wonderful. Well, for her languages, that's
Spanish,
yeah.
Spanish. Great.
and France for French, obviously.
Yeah. My grandson's going to Madrid, which is less adventurous, isn't it? He didn't want to go. Also for Spanish, of course. Was the same thing.
Right. Oh no, Amy wanted to go further afield.
She's quite right.
Yeah.
She'll have a marvellous time.
Hi, chaps.
Hello, Ian.
Hi, Ian.
Hi, Marsha.
Hiya.
Mr. Moss. Mr. Chairman Moss.
Mrs. Engel, my goodness me.
No,
Not for long.
Mrs.
I'm
Engel,
going to make some lunch.
This is
Excuse me, where's the mechitza?
This is
He's just plugging me in.
this
Brian?
is not the mountain going, not Mohammed going to the mountain.
The mountain.
Engels this is the mountain going to the Engels.
Engels.
Brian,
Is the rabbi
Yeah.
there?
Yes, he is there.
Oh.
somewhere.
He'll eventually come
He was
you
there.
recovered
Who?
from the mitzvah.
back again. He's the guy with he's the one with the beard.
Yeah.
I think
I can't
Ian's
see if he's
talking.
there.
Ian's talking to Brian, I think.
It's all right.
Ah, look, we're starting. Ecclesiastes Koheleth.
Rabbi,
Zerbib.
Rabbi, apologies from David, who want to know whether you're recording this.
You have silence, Rabbi. Unmute.
Rabbi.
Now you can hear
Now
me.
we can hear you.
How you doing?
I wanted to know
Yes,
how all your
no,
family
I
were.
can hear. I can. Yeah, 1 second.
Yes, I'm passing on apologies from David, David Friedman, who asked whether you're recording this, and in which case can he have a recording?
I can record it if you want. The rabbi
Always
can
good.
record it.
It's on YouTube. I was just fixing something. Do you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Excellent. So David.
Alan Taylor sends his apologies as well.
Okay.
His electric car ran out of battery in town.
Who's
Really?
Alan Taylor?
I think he should get the new Porsche that you can drive while it's getting its battery.
Full
like,
of hybrid,
charging.
they're a waste of money. They give you 26 extra miles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hybrids are a
Rabbi.
waste.
Yes.
I just wanted to know how all your family are.
Baruch Hashem, we're feeling fine,
Okay.
feeling much
Good.
better. Yeah,
Good.
very good. They're still at home, so that's not.
I
going
know.
anywhere. Pinchas, how you doing, Paul?
Yeah, very good.
Good.
Very good. Yeah,
Marsha, good to see you. Aviva, Alan,
Hi.
Lino, Henry, Paul,
Hi.
Shepper, and Ian, and Brian. And let's go. Yes, 33 will start.
You got a minion?
We got a minion. No, Bezat Hashem for Purim.
Henry, what's happened to the accountancy world?
Hmm?
We don't normally have Henry here.
What accountancy world?
Well, it's coming up to April.
No, those days are long gone, Brian.
Correct.
Okay, so today we're going to talk about Koheleth. Koheleth, as you can see in the Wikipedia, please, Aviva, can you read it for us? A quote from
Yep.
Wikipedia. What is Koheleth?
Ecclesiastes, Koheleth. I won't read the Greek. Written 450 to 200
We need
BCE.
Brian here to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, BCE is one of the wisdom books of the Old Testament. The title commonly used in English is a Latin transliteration of the Greek translation of the Hebrew word Koheleth. An unnamed author introduces Koheleth as the son of David and does not use his own voice again until the final verses, where he gives his own thoughts and summarizes the statements of Koheleth. The main body of the text is ascribed to Koheleth.
We will address that, of course. This is their opinion, but we will address this point. Who wrote the Koheleth? But first of all, they didn't really give an explanation. What is Koheleth? Let's continue.
Koheleth proclaims that all human actions are hevel, vapor or breath, meaning insubstantial, vain or futile, since the lives of both wise and foolish people all end in death. While Koheleth clearly endorses wisdom as a means for a well-lived earthly life, he is unable to ascribe eternal meaning to it. In light of this perceived senselessness, he suggests that human beings should enjoy the simple pleasures of daily life, such as eating, drinking, and taking enjoyment in one's work, which are gifts from the hand of Hashem. The book concludes with the injunction, fear Hashem and keep his commandments, for that is the whole duty of everyone.
Thank you so much, Aviva.
Excuse me, there's somebody at my front door.
That's okay. So what I already see.
Don't like the translation.
Of course you don't.
I far prefer our translation for the last sentence. All the rest is futile.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Brian, fantastic. There's so many problems with how they're describing it. It's not that they're not true, but they don't answer the questions, because again, what is Koheleth? He doesn't explain. He says that he talks about King Solomon thinking about the simple things in life and enjoying it, whereas he said Hevel Avalim, there's nothing, there's no joyable in this world, and I, King Solomon, have experienced all. I can tell you nothing is worth it but to fear God. So they don't bring it in there, but it doesn't matter what they think. I wanted you to see, first of all, how they explain it, and let's go a little bit deeper. Now, Rabbeinu Bechaye, he's, as you can see, he was a Rishon. He was in that area of time, 1290 to 1310. And he's a very well-known Rishon, like maybe a little bit after the Maimonides and so on. But before, don't get me exactly with the years, excuse me. But basically, he was very, very sharp in his writing on his commentary on the Torah. Now, it's kind of unknown because sometimes he just brings quotes, but many times he brings his own views. And I would like for Lionel, please, to read the next section, please.
My glasses on. Moses commanded us the Torah according to the plain meaning of the text. This is a continuation of the previous instruction.
Excuse me. Sorry, my mistake. I didn't introduce the verse. The verse again. It says.
I'm sorry. You want me to start from some quote?
Yeah, no. Just stop a second. I just wanted to say one thing that this Rabbeinu Bechaye goes on verse Devarim chapter 33, which says Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha kilat Yaakov. Where's Torah tziva lanu? Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha kilat Yaakov. Sorry, it's in Spanish or whatever.
Right.
I hope you got the Wanderino. Where is Torah tziva lanu? Okay, we don't have it here. Doesn't matter. But basically, it means that Hashem gave us the Torah. Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha kihilat Yaakov. The kihilat, the Koheleth. Suddenly, we see the same words. You see, Morasha kihilat Yaakov.
Oh.
Look over here. The point. Morasha kihilat. Sorry?
Is it the same word? Does it have the same connection?
It's exactly the same word. Oh. We read it with the different vowels, Koheleth and Kehilat, but it's the same letters.
So, right, okay. So.
Wait, I just jumped, but again, Torah tziva lanu Moshe commanded us the Torah tziva lanu Moshe Morasha kilat Yaakov. He's going to explain this verse. Please read it again.
Right. Moses commanded us the Torah. According to the plain meaning of the text, this is a continuation of the previous instruction to the Levites that each one of them has the burden of instructing all the Israelites that the commandments he performs are based on a tradition going back all the way to Moses. The Torah had become an inheritance for them, seeing that they are what is called the congregation of Yaakov. The reason he mentions Yaakov instead of saying Marsha Koheleth Israel is to exclude the Ishmaelites and Edomites, both of whom, though descendants of Abraham, or even Abraham and Yitzchak, are not descendants of Yaakov, the other descendants of Abraham having declined to accept it. Torah is an heritage only for the descendants of Yaakov, being one of the 4 gifts from God given exclusively to the Jewish people. The other 3 are prophecy, the land of Israel, and resurrection of the bodies at some point in the future.
Isn't that amazing? Isn't that a bomb? Not only that he talks about what is a congregation and that it's unique to the Israelite because Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob received the promise, and of course Abraham received the promise from God that from Isaac it will come, and therefore they are called a nation, they're called a tzibur, they're called a community. They received 4 gifts that not just it's gifts, but gifts means that we are unique. Yes, we are different. Anti-Semites, we are different. We have that gifts and you do not have. We are different. What?
Rabbi, I'm sorry. Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
From a total ignoramus, I don't understand. What is Koheleth? You haven't explained it to me. What is it? Is it a book? It's not a book in the Bible, is it?
Yes. Okay. You are right. You're right. Excuse me. Let's go back over here. Koheleth is a book. It's a holy book, which is part of the prophets, and it was a debate if it's to make it holy or not. So basically, the question is: did King Solomon, when he wrote it, I'm going to talk about it soon, but did King Solomon, when he wrote it, did he do it through prophecy or not, or he went out? So it was the debate. And then they said no. We see from the thing, we have a Kabbalah, we have a tradition, and this is what also the text does not contradict itself, and therefore it is prophecy. And therefore it's like, it's holy, and you have to kiss it, and you have to scroll it, you have to write in a special pen, and so on. But more so, it means that there's many hidden messages, not only for King Solomon as a wisdom, but for also to us, because it's prophecy. So it links to every generation. And that's the word. Now, Koheleth means really to gather, to gather, or to gather and to speak. Because once 7 years and 150 years, and the king used to come, and we'll see soon. The king used to come into the Bet HaMikdash and do a whole big ceremony, and used to say, read the Torah, and used to read the thing as we learn in Parshat Pekudei, and we had it many times. But the idea of Koheleth is to gather around Kehilat Yaakov, community of Jacob, the same link, to gather around together and to create something that no other nation has, which we can only do together. The moment we put the 10 people together in the Bet HaMikdash and we say the words out, the Koheleth, we have special gifts. We have 4 special gifts, and that is, let's go back, the land of Israel. No, the prophecy. Now you might say prophecy is also for the non-Jews, but because they had Bil'am, we know that. But no, the prophecy, that means that they will always have prophecy. It's an infinity of prophecy. Anyway, never mind. But the idea of prophecy will always be with the Jews. The land of Israel, which no one else could be there, only but us. We cannot say, you know what, Hashem, we love you very much. We're doing the mitzvahs, everything. Everyone is ultra Haredi, blah, blah, blah. But we don't want Israel. We can hear those noises and voices out there. We will do all the thing, but in Lakewood, not in Israel. No, it doesn't work. The land of Israel has to be to the Jewish people, no one else. And the resurrection of the dead, as we know. Even the non-Jews, the righteous among the nation, they get Gan Eden, they get the special life in the life to come, and they have a beautiful infinity of joyful. But to come back, there's a resurrection of the dead, that's only for the Jews.
Rabbi?
Yes.
When did resurrection become a tenet of our religion? Because Am I right that it's not referred to in the Tanakh?
So you're right about that. It's not referred to specifically. Whatever.
Specifically.
What is that?
Specifically.
No, it wasn't specifically, but never mind the other one. I get it. It's not written exactly in the Torah, but they learn it. They learn from the 13 principles. So it's basically the oral Torah. So it's exactly the same. It's not the oral and the written Torah were given to Moses correspond together. Only if you use the coding of the 13 principles, which they got all the codings that they needed. And sometimes they forgot it, and then they used the code again, and then they remembered more laws, and they used the code again until they sealed that you cannot use the codes anymore. That was the Talmud. That was at the end of the prophecy. And
isn't resurrection referred to in that Haftarah where the bones come alive again?
Yeah. Of course. No, and the prophets is many times Eliyahu Navi putting that. Many scenarios, but we're talking about the Torah, and also in the Torah, Hashem gave ruach apayim. He gave life to Adam and Chava. So give life and take life is the same. It's the same concept.
Well, some of the Rabbanim consider that Abraham actually did kill Isaac, and he was resurrected.
Exactly that, and it's a midrash.
You have that in the Amidah. Second.
But why is it important that it's a midrash? Because midrash cannot contradict halakha. So if it wasn't that there was a concept of a resurrection, it couldn't be. So it has to be the resurrection of the dead. But anyway, now let's focus a second again to the words morasha, which is what? Brian, you continue.
Where am I reading from?
From the top.
It is possible to understand the word morasha as referring to the land of Israel, so that the meaning of the whole verse is, due to the merit of Torah, which Moses commanded us, we inherited the land of Israel, of which it is written, I give it to you as an inheritance. I am the Lord. Land becomes the inheritance of the community of Yaakov as a result of these people observing its commandments. If we were to transgress its commandments, we would be exiled and be deprived of it.
So 1 second. We have an axiom. An axiom. Hashem put a mine in the minefield in the middle of Israel with an axiom. Whoever enters, or who enters and who goes out. So this axiom, which basically says, if you do the commandments, you will be the only one deserved to sit in here and no one else. And if you won't, you'll be kicked out, and anyone will be here also, but they will for a small time. You'll be kicked out. That's the axiom. You can't go around it. Now, why is it important? Because we're using the same word, morasha. And morasha means like tradition. We're using that same word, which we can later on use it to different areas. The same idea about Koheleth and about community. Bechava, continue.
The word morasha, as distinct from Yerusha, refers to something which is continuously to be passed on as a heritage to future generations, as distinct from a normal heritage, which the owner could give away during his lifetime without passing it on to his heirs.
I like the word. Is where is this word? It refers to something which is to heritage. That again, Yerusha, the morasha, that there. If you had an opportunity, look at it like this. If you had an opportunity, a genie in a bottle, was just, cartoons. Genie comes out and says, you can give a heritage to your grandchildren and great-grandchildren. But I will promise you, and that's what Hashem did in Brit Bed and B'Tayim, I will promise you that from you, I will promise you that all your children will be blessed and will be grateful and will have the full blessings and so on and so on and so on. And that's what Hashem promised Abraham Avinu. But why is it important? Because there was a promise there that the heritage will continue, because that's our biggest fear. What is our biggest fear? That whatever we try for ourselves, okay. I heard an interview yesterday with Alderson, what's his name? Alderson? Sherry Arison? No.
Sheridan, yeah.
Sheldon, yes, that guy, the billionaire. He was talking about his philanthropic, about truth and his values, whatever it is. But in the end, he talked about legacy. He says, I don't know my great-great-grandchild. For me, he doesn't exist. Because for him, in his world, the world is around him. And that's how maybe people deal with it. But Avraham Avinu wasn't like that. Avraham Avinu was thinking to not 10 generations, 20, 30, 50. And here we are, thousands of years, just because of Avraham Avinu. If he wasn't that, if he wouldn't have had that promise, we wouldn't be here. Let's continue.
We find the expression marash.
It gives inheritance and gives wealth.
Hashem makes poor as opposed to bestow as inheritance and enriches, apparently simultaneously, something that appears very contradictory in Samuel 1:7 in Hannah's prayer.
Yeah.
Hannah, yeah. This is not the only word in the Torah which appears to have opposite meanings on occasion. One such example is in Numbers 4:13, Hoshana et
HaMizbeach, and they will clean the altar.
Which at first glance could either mean, and they will clean the altar from the remains of previous offerings, or it could mean that the priests were to provide the altar with fat.
Wow.
The fattest, best animals. Everything depends on the intention. When the community of Yaakov relates positively to the Torah, the land of Israel will behave positively towards the Jewish people. They will enjoy it as a bountiful inheritance. If the Jewish people disdain the Torah, the land of Israel will disdain the Jewish people. The dual meaning of Dashem, when applied to Hashem's altar, can have similar allegorical meanings.
Wow, Ian, isn't this amazing? Because we are having here a word that has two pronunciations, two ways of looking at it. And Hashem gives you the opportunity, Israel, to choose. Are you going to be ugly, or are you going to be nice or proper? Are you going to think about, no, it means to put fat, or are you going to be, no, it's cleaning. Now, in the end, of course, we have a tradition what it means. But in the end, a person that is an outsider, like I like to say, he wants to look in his fresh eyes in the Torah. If he doesn't have a good heart, he'll look at it. No, why not? Yes, it's talking about putting fat. Now, this is a small example about us looking to the Torah, us looking at the tradition. If we're looking in a positive eye, which we can see on both ways, it can be 50-50, then you will see the truth, you will see the positivity. And that is what Koheleth is basically trying to introduce. It is trying to introduce.
I don't see that this is any different to something that came much earlier from the Tanakh, the Tochacha.
You're right. No. It's not only it's the same. Koheleth is talking about the Torah. Koheleth is prophecy. Tochacha, yes, Torah for the Tochacha from the Torah, which is rebuke, which is changing your ways, which is really dealing with yourself and realizing, which we'll get to the punchline, which is about pleasure. It's about really understanding that no matter what you have, what you want, you will always want more, and you will not be satisfied. Satisfaction does not come from wealth, does not come from physical. It comes from, and then he talks about it. It's to fear God, and then he talks about it. Why is it only King Solomon that can be in that position? Because he was the only one that was a king and wealthy and the son of a king and the highest of pleasure. He had thousands of women, and he had too many women, so he was kicked out. But that's one of the reasons. Why did he push to have too many women? Why did he have extra? He knew that he wasn't allowed more than 1,000 and this and that. Why did he do extra? Because he wanted to show that even if you go extra, you still think it's nothing. Hevel avalim. Yes, Lionel.
Still can't see the connection. Sorry, must be me, between Koheleth, Ecclesiastes, and the extracts you have from Bachya. I mean, he doesn't refer to Ecclesiastes. Why have you introduced Bachya's comments? They're talking about.
Rabbeinu Bachya talked about Torah tziva lanu Moshe Moasha Kehilat.
So what is that? So
this is, where does it say Koheleth in the Torah? So it actually has a few times. That one. Let me open it.
But what is the specific connection he's made in that you've used?
No. Okay, let me explain myself again now. We were talking about the word Koheleth. Now, the word Koheleth you can find a few times, like you can see over here. Divrei Koheleth ben Shlomo, Hevel Avalim Koheleth, and then you can find it at the Hevel Avalim. No, it's not over here. 1 second. Sorry. Okay, anyway, I'll find it in a moment. Here, it talks about King Solomon. But let's get back again to the connection. The connection to Rabbeinu Bechayev is that he talked about this pasuk, about this word Koheleth, and he explained to us that the congregation of Jacob, which means the continuation, has with its gifts and has with its challenges. But it all depends on the Jewish people doing the mitzvot or not doing the mitzvot. And that's why the word Koheleth, the introduction of Koheleth, is about the person dealing with themselves. Do I do the mitzvot or I don't do the mitzvot? Do I fear God or I don't fear God? And what comes in that challenge is the pleasure. What comes in the challenge is about a person desiring his own needs, the Yetzer Hara, if you want to call it, Lionel. And that's coming in between him. So again, the title Koheleth is talking about this human challenge. Why did he pick the word Koheleth? If it's King Solomon is writing it, why did he say Koheleth? Because he wanted to talk the aspect of the pain of the person, the personality of King Solomon, the struggle, the challenge which he had between the good and the bad. And that's why the Koheleth. And how do we know that the good and the bad is talking about Torah values? How do we know it's talking about, do we believe in our tradition? Do we continue our tradition? Do we don't eat rice on Passover? We say this Passover, I'm going to eat rice. We continue our tradition, or we go to pleasures and so on. Now, the real challenge, and this is the whole talk today, because I think it's the personality of King Solomon. And that's, I think, more than just personality of King Solomon. It is the purpose of writing this book is to show a side, if you want to call it, of King Solomon, which he wants to show, open a window to his personal life and show, I did everything. I went through all the pleasures of the world. I can tell you that this is the big picture. It's not about physical. It's not about what you see in the world and promotions and so on. It's about fearing God. And that led to him to actually build the Bet HaMikdash and come back, circulation again. What do we do in the Bet HaMikdash? We, Koheleth, we talk about our character. We work on our midot. We try to change our midot. What did the person Lionel do when he came to the Bet HaMikdash? What did he do? He came, he heard this song. He just came to the Levites. The Levites saw the personality. They had prophecy, exactly psychologically what the problem of that person is and why is he depressed or not happy or sin. They blew him a beautiful symphony, especially for him. And he starts to burst into tears, asking forgiveness for God, going inside, praying and getting all the blessing, because Hashem says, you are blessed. You are machul, which is salah. How do you say salah? You are forgiven. And he comes out happy, and he goes out great. And that satisfaction, that feeling that that even on the deepest fears that you might sin in front of Hashem, that what, even if whatever you think, also there you're clean. Also, wow, that is the satisfaction. Nothing else can give you that satisfaction. No physical being can give you that satisfaction. That's what King. So, and you might say, look at this. You might say that where is it? You might say that a poor person should say it. Why should a rich person say it? Maybe if a poor person is gonna say, I don't know what. A rich person, it's a guy with a Ferrari looking at you with a blasting music and saying to you, talking to you and with a car and saying to you, hey, hi Joey. How you doing? How's life over there? Huh? Hey, all of this is the rubbish. Don't care about my jets. It's nothing. It's not the real thing. Don't worry. When he goes by, you say for a poor person, I can have a 5. So why do we go to King Solomon? And the answer is the opposite, because the answer is that generally the poor person cannot. They won't. But even if it's a rabbi that comes to you with the biggest beard, Moshe Rabbeinu is a poor person. He says, "Oh, don't go to this and don't go to those." He said the guy doesn't know, he didn't taste it. King Solomon tasted. King Solomon tasted everything. And that's why he went further than what he was supposed to, maybe against God a little bit, but he wanted to taste more, to show everyone that even if I taste the most, what I'm saying over here in Koheleth, this is my declaration, my fifth amendment, this is who I am. Do not believe anything that you see with the visual in the eyes and so on, but only with the spirituality. I think that takes great courage. I think that King Solomon was a real king, not only in the physical matter, but he knew how to control. He was willing to go deep undercover, and that's what he did. If you look at the Midrashim, you look a little bit of the stories of King Solomon, he went deep undercover. He was kicked out from a demon, the Ashmedai. I would love to tell you the stories. It's beautiful stories. We all know them. How he was kicked, and then the keys, and how he was left, and he didn't. No one wanted to greet him. No one saw him as a king. And there was a little person. Now, of course, some say it's an analogy, like the Maimonides, and it's great because we can learn from it too. It doesn't matter for us. It doesn't matter if it happened or didn't happen. It teaches us the exact same lessons. Yes, Marsha.
So going back to the literal words of Koheleth,
gather.
The rabbis
gather and speak. Speak.
But the actual words, and I don't mean what Koheleth means. I mean the actual text.
Kahal means a community.
Yeah, but when we actually read Koheleth, we're told by the rabbis that it's self-contradictory. Does that mean literally that something can mean two things at once?
Oh, there's paradox. Yes, of course. The Koheleth. That's why the rabbis.
I don't know what self-contradictory means, but everything I've read
let me explain
about Koheleth, it says that the literal text says, you can have good and you can have bad in the same thing. Is that what it is? Just the actual text, never mind Midrashim or Kabbalah, the words that we've got on paper allegedly written by King Solomon.
See, that's the trick, Marsha. People try to go around Kabbalah, Midrash, and go to the words direct. You can't do that in Judaism. Because yes, if you read the words direct, the same word deshin. What is deshin? Who remembers? We just learned it.
What?
Deshin. What is deshin? So we learned it a moment ago. Abinu Bachai said deshin means either a fat.
The fat or the clean. Yeah, the fat or the clean.
Okay.
Yeah.
The same words has two. Now, how do you know what is what? You read the text without midrash, without halacha. How do you know? And Koheleth, usually when you read the Torah, you don't get mixed up. You can't say, it says over here that you need to worship idols. It says, there's also the pshat. But in Koheleth, you can take the word and you can play with it with your own way. Even, although that when you enter such a book, you have to take precautions. You have to take precautions, which means you have to understand. Lionel, I don't hear you at all. I thought you talked about Koheleth all the time.
I talked about Koheleth? Well,
yeah, he talked about King Solomon. He talked about his. See, Koheleth is like an unhidden one. You see, when do we do it? We do it in Sukkot. Why do we do it in Sukkot, Brian?
Right.
Why do we do it on Sukkot? No, I've transferred now to my mobile. Why do we read
when
it?
When do we read Koheleth? Shir HaShirim is on Pesach. Ruth is on Shavuot.
I don't know.
And that leaves Koheleth too. Sukkot. No. Well, we didn't do a year already, but that's okay. But anyway, what does it say in Koheleth? Excuse me. Why do we do it in Sukkot? Because it was just after the beginning of the temple, the creation of the temple, and that's a time where also King Solomon built the first temple, and he also linked, and inside the Koheleth is basically the meditation or the workshop that one has to do when he's building a mikdash, when he's starting from scratch, from purity. And that was and just after Yom Kippur, when Hashem said, "You are forgiven, and I want to build you a bet mikdash." And that's why we're happy on Sukkot, because we are forgiven a new clean plate. So also King Solomon had a new plate. He was the king. Everything was perfect. His father was David. He had no fights. He ruled all over. There was peace. He was the smartest guy, rich, a perfect slate. Now, what do you do when Hashem gives you a perfect scenario? Do you screw it up again or you don't? So we have a little book here to help us not to screw it up all over again. And that book is called Koheleth. And that's why the book is very harsh. And yes, with paradox, because we have paradox too in our minds. And we are playing games with our questions too, in our religion, in our ethos about life, in our questions, in our challenges. We put them aside and we play with them too. So we have to have a book that knows how to deal with it. And every verse and every letter is a challenge to what we believe, and a challenge to myself, a challenge to the biggest rabbis, even King Solomon, because he was the smartest of all men. And of course, it's divine, which was written in the Talmud. And that's why I think Koheleth is a hidden gem, because we know about Koheleth, but we don't read it as we have something so close to us. Because if I say to you, you can have 5 minutes, Brian, literally, you can have 5 minutes with the best experts in the Wall Street today. 5 minutes to do whatever you want with hedge funds and so on. And they won't give you money, but they will give you an advice. How much money would you pay for it? And people pay to Warren Buffett, people pay millions just to meet him for a few minutes. So the smartest man in the world ever existed gives us a book not to sing songs about Hashem, put that on the side for now. Not Mishlei, which is also talking about many, many hidden ideas and concepts, but it's talking about Koheleth. It's talking about the voice of being together. And this is my last point, which is what sticks everything together. The Koheleth uniqueness by choosing this title is that it only works when we are together. The Bet HaMikdash only works when we are together. The fear of God only works when we are together. You can't be fear of God and spitting on your friend behind the corner. It doesn't work together. That is the secret of Shlomo HaMelech. Sof davar hakol nishma. Let's see it in the verse inside. Et Elohim yira ki ze kol ha'adam. Divrei Koheleth melech Yerushalayim. Ma yitaron la'adam. Let's just read it to get the atmosphere a little bit in it. Who is over here? Paul, please read a little bit in English. A few verses.
The words of Koheleth, son of David, king of Jerusalem. Futility of futilities, said Koheleth. Futility of futilities, all is futile. What profit does man have for all his labor, which he toils beneath the sun? A generation goes and a generation comes, but the earth endures forever. And the sun rises and the sun sets. Then to its place it rushes. There it rises again. It goes towards the south and veers towards the north.
Wait, so stop a second. Do we know what we're talking about now, or we don't know what we're talking about now? What do you say? Even in the English, we just read the English. It's talking about the generations. This is important because it's about us. One generation goes, another comes, but the earth remains the same forever. The sun rises and the sun sets and glides back, right? Yeah. Continue. So he's bringing sun. I'm just pointing out, because you have to remember there's one law in the Torah and in the Nevi'im when you go to logically learn something about it, and that is called the law of preservation. And the law of preservation is basically you don't need to write words that you don't need to write. If there's a word there, it has to be there for a reason. To give it 2 examples, sun and moon, or sun, it has to have its place. It has to have 1,000 reasons why you need to put another word into the prophecy. So that's why I wanted to give it gravity.
And the sun rises and the sun sets. Then to its place it rushes. There it rises again. It goes towards the south and veers towards the north. The wind goes round and round, and on its rounds the wind returns. All the rivers flow into the sea, yet the sea is not full. To the place where the rivers flow, there they flow once more. So it's saying that the earth the creation goes on in its normal way. Very
good. We learned that I think I brought last week, I said the verse in Barchi Nafshi. It says that the world, Hashem created the world to function forever. So no matter what climate change or whatever you think is going to happen, the world will function forever. The system works. You don't need to reboot it to upgrade its system. It's there. Now, the question is, if Hashem wants to destroy us because of our actions, that's something else. But the world can take care of itself. Don't worry. The sky is not going to collapse on your head tomorrow morning. It's very important to understand that. In terms of the physical nature, because Hashem promised. In terms of your deeds, it's something else. Continue.
All words are wearying. One becomes speechless. The eye is never sated with seeing, nor the ear filled with hearing. Whatever has been is what will be, and whatever has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new beneath the sun. Sometimes there is something of which one says, look, this is new. It has already existed in the ages before us. As there is no recollection of the former ones, so too of the latter ones that are yet to be.
Okay. Okay. Let's jump. I just want to jump to the end. You can see here, this is chapter 12. It starts. Hello? It starts with trying to finalize the Koheleth. I'm not going to go through, but I want you to read the last two psukim. Who is over here? Ian.
A further word against them, my son, be warned. The making of many books is without limit, and much study is a wearying of the flesh. The sum of the matter, when all is said and done, revere God and observe his commandments, for this applies to all mankind.
1 second. Interesting. It looks like an essay over here that he has to sum up. Usually the Torah and the Nevi'im, the prophecy, they don't sum up things in the middle of an essay. So that's why also it's ketuvim. It's not exactly, it's a different style, but it's important. It's like a degrade. They need to tell us what they're summing up. They need to tell us what the point, because it has so many paradoxes. So finally, at almost the last verse, he gives us the sum up. Whatever we understood or not, because he's smarter than you. You know, he is smarter than you. So whatever he thought further ahead than you. He sums up it for you. Please read it again. The sum of the matter.
The sum of the matter, when all is said and done, revere God and observe his commandments, for this applies to all mankind.
Wow. For me, the most, I would say the dagger is it's so simple, and yet it's so abstract, far from being relevant. How could we make that relevant? And please continue.
That God will call every creature to account for everything unknown, be it good or bad. The sum of the matter, when all is said and done, revere God and observe his commandments, for this applies to all mankind.
And with that, I think sums up not the journey, because to fear God is not the journey. Fear God is the vision, the purpose, and we have to translate it back to where we are in that line of journey. Where we are there, we have to translate and see, okay, what does fear God mean to me today? How can I fear God better tomorrow? And fearing God means that you're mature enough to know that there's consequences. Put your hand to the fire, you get burnt. You're mature enough to know that speaking about God and speaking about relationships and speaking about theology or questions or any challenge that we have, it's not just important. It's not just something brave and mature, but it's something that we are commanded to do so very, very soon. And that's what we're doing today. And that's what King Solomon, hopefully with his wisdom, hopes that we just do him one favor, open the book of Koheleth and just read his words so we can apply it in our lives. Chazak u'baruch, and may you have a beautiful day. Any questions? No? Okay, we'll see you B'ezrat Hashem next week. We have a